Where's no Alyssa either?
Melissa has
No, Alyssa.
doesn't want to be
Oh yes,
on
yes, I
camera.
remember social media thing. Yes.
Yeah, and she was on here once. Um,
Yeah.
and but anyway, that's her prerogative. So we're just gonna start here because we don't have that much time. I want to end it at 7:45. My wife's got to get up early tomorrow because she's got her jury duty.
Oh, I'm glad I have yet to get that so far.
I'm too old for jury duty. I've just turned 70, so I don't have to go down there anymore. So that's one of the perks of being old.
Once you turn 70 or once you
Yeah,
become a
you don't have to show up.
that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you see this?
Yes, yes,
Cool.
Prabhupada. Oh yeah, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
So
Krishna.
this is the second chapter called the process. I think it's called the wait a minute, whatever it is. Hold on. It's called the first stages of devotion.
Okay.
You were sick for a while, so you might have missed some of this, but it's all nectar when you jump in any place. It's like a sweet ball. It doesn't matter where you bite into it. It's always sweet.
Yeah.
So let me read the first paragraph. We'll just take turns.
Uh,
In the Padma Purana, also the same process is advised. There it is said that one should always remember Lord Vishnu. This is called dhyana or meditation, always remembering Krishna. It is said that one has to meditate on his mind, with his mind fixed upon Vishnu. Padma Purana recommends that one always fix his mind on the form of Vishnu by meditation and not forget him at any moment. And this state of consciousness is called samadhi or trance. Go ahead.
all right. Samadhi. Okay. So that's the, oh yeah, eternal fixation, my Lord. Let's see. We should always try to mold the activities of our lives in such a way that we will constantly remember Vishnu or Krishna. That is Krishna consciousness. Whether one concentrates his mind on the forehand form of Vishnu or on the form of two-handed Krishna, it is the same. The Padma Purana recommends somehow or other always think of Vishnu without forgetting him under any circumstances. Actually, this is the most basic of all regulative principles for when there is an order from a superior about doing something, there is simultaneously a prohibition. When the order is that one should always remember Krishna, the prohibition is that one should never forget him. Okay.
That's pretty
Within
simple, right?
yeah, within this simple order and prohibition, all regulative principles are found complete. That's uh that's very interesting. Yeah, order and prohibition. It's like don't
Yeah, you
not
can't have one without the other.
yeah, it's like orders like remember the Lord always and prohibitions like don't not remember him all
Right,
the time.
exactly.
Yeah.
This regular principle is applied to all varnas and ashrams, the castes and occupations of life. There are four varnas, namely the brahmanas, priests and intellectuals, the kshatriyas, warriors and statesmen, the vaishyas, businessmen and farmers, and the shudras, laborers and servants. There are also four standard ashrams, namely brahmacharya, student life, grahastha, householder, vanaprastha, retired, and sannyas, renounced. The regulative principles are not only for the brahmachari celibate students to follow, but are applicable for all. It doesn't matter whether one is a beginner, a brahmachari, or very advanced, a sannyasi. The principle of remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead constantly and not forgetting him at any moment is meant to be followed by everyone without fail. Go ahead.
All right. Um, if this injunction is followed, then all of the rules and regulations will automatically fall into line. All other rules and regulations should be treated as assistants or servants to this one basic principle. The injunctions or rules and regulations and their resultant reactions are mentioned in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th chapter, verses 2 and 3. Kamasa Muni, one of the 9 sages who came to instruct King Nimi, addressed the king and said, the 4 social orders, namely the Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Sudras, uh, have come out of the different parts of the universal form of the Supreme Lord as always. The Brahmanas have come out from the head, the the S, the dot below an S is an H, right?
Kshatriya. Yeah, you just
Okay.
pronounce it Kshatriya. It's kind of
Kshatriya.
like with a K and a S with a dot under it. It's kind of CH, Kshatriyas. That's
Okay. Kshatriyas have come out from the arms. The Vaishyas
yeah.
have come out from the waist. The Shudras have come out from the legs. Similarly, the sannyasis have come out from the head. The prastas from the arms, the grahastas from the waist, and the brahmacharya charyas from the legs. Whoa.
Yeah, that's like a universal form, a kind of analogy. You know, the universal form. Everything comes from Krishna. Even these 4 varnas and ashrams are coming from Krishna. He created them. And so it's just kind of a way of thinking about it. These different orders of society and grades of spiritual advancement are conceived in terms of qualification. It's not like, in India they have a caste system and the Shudras are considered, lower class and the Brahmanas are considered higher class, but that is not based on hierarchy. It's actually um, the natural order of things. You're born that way, you know. Some people have the qualities of a Brahmana. In other words, they're in the mode of goodness, they're studious, they're intelligent. So they're naturally inclined to do Brahminical work. It's based on quality, not on caste system. In India, they have a caste system where it's become perverted over the years, and the Brahmanas, the caste Brahmanas, they think that because they're Brahmanas, then all their families are automatically Brahmanas. But it's not based on heredity; it's based on quality. So.
Yes. Not what you're born as, uh, but as your quality, uh, based upon the qualities you possess.
Yeah. I
Uh,
mean, they actually have a test, for like a little baby. They show him things. Like they'll show him a book, they'll show him some money, they'll show him like some other thing, and then they can kind of like whatever the baby crawls toward, then that would determine it's kind of like an early indication of what the baby's more inclined to.
Ah, okay.
That's a particular ceremony that they do in India often. Let's see here. As the different parts of the body have different types of activities, so the social orders and spiritual orders also have different types of activities in terms of qualification and position. The target of these activities, however, is always the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, quote, He is the supreme enjoyer, end quote. I just learned that, I was listening to Prabhupada today. I was shelling some lima beans. My wife got like a whole basket full of lima beans. It took hours. She loves lima beans for some reason. I mean, I like them too, but farmers markets are like booming right now. But I was watching Prabhupada's lectures from like 1973, and he had the definition of uh, bhakti, devotional service. It says when you serve Krishna's senses, if you serve his senses. That is the definition of bhakti. Actually, let me look that up here. I just posted that. So when our senses are engaged in the satisfaction of the master of the senses, that is called bhakti. This is the definition of bhakti, devotional service. And so that's the definition. So means like uh, the social spiritual orders. Where am I here? Um,
Supreme
Supreme
enjoy.
enjoyer. Yeah, that's what made me think of that. When you help Krishna enjoy his senses instead of ourselves enjoying our own senses, then that's bhakti. That's devotional service. Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. So if you help him enjoy, if you serve him in that way, then you're engaged in devotional service, and you're on the topmost position because without bhakti, without devotional service, nobody can understand anything. Nobody can become a brahmana without being, or nobody can understand the Vedas, what we're reading right now, unless you have Brahminical qualities. And in order to become a brahmana, one has to engage in service because Krishna is only reveals himself by the process of devotional service. It's not that one can, like walk up to Krishna and say, "Show me your," he's inconceivable. He's not conceivable by our senses. So he has to reveal himself through the process of devotional service and satisfy his senses. So whether one is a Brahmana or a Shudra, doesn't matter what caste you're in, one has to satisfy the Supreme Lord by one's activities. This is also confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam by a verse that reads, quote, Everyone must be engaged in his particular duty, but the perfection of such work should be tested by how far the Lord is satisfied with such activities. End quote. The injunction herein is that one has to act according to his position, and by such activities one must either satisfy the Supreme Personality or else fall down from one's position. Go ahead.
I, for example, Ramana was born out of the head of the Lord, has his, has as his business. Let's see. No, what was that? Oh, okay. Has as his business to preach the transcendental Vedic sounds or shab, Shabda Shabda Brahma. Because the Brahmana is the head, he has to preach the transcendental sound. And he also has to eat on behalf of the Supreme Lord. According to Vedic injunctions, when a Brahmana eats, it is to be understood that the personality of Godhead is eating through him. It is not, however, that the Brahmana should simply eat on behalf of the Lord and not preach a message of Bhagavad Gita to the world. Actually, one who preaches the message of the Gita was very dear to Krishna and is confirmed in the Gita itself. Such a preacher, actually a Brahmana, and thus by feeding him, one feeds the Supreme Lord directly.
Yeah, in other words, you shouldn't be just a Brahmana who eats on behalf of Krishna, lays around in a temple and just eats. Uh, Similarly, the Kshatriya has to protect people from the onslaughts of Maya. That is his duty. For example, as soon as Maharaj Parikshit saw that a black man, that was Kali, was attempting to kill a cow, he immediately took his sword, wanting to kill the black man whose name was Kali. That is the Kshatriya's duty. Violence is required in order to give protection. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna gave his order to Arjuna to commit violence on the battlefield of Kurukshetra just to give protection to the people in general. See, Chat means hurt, and Triya means to protect. Kshatriya. That's the etymological derivation of that term. Go ahead. The Vaishyas.
Right. A quick question. So, Kshatriya, so it's like, it's kind of confusing. Oh, wait, I kind of get it. So you have to hurt or cause violence, like to protect. Oh, yeah, like if somebody were to be looking for a cow, that's like the one time, one of the very few times that person lies to save the cow. Um, or if it's in danger, okay, you defend it. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I
see,
wanted
there's a
to.
pastime. Maharaj Parikshit was the king of the earth, and he happened to see this man who was attempting to, he was like beating the legs of these a cow and a bull, and those were actually not ordinary cows and bulls. They were the personality of the earth and also Dharma, the bull, personified, and they were only standing on three legs because in the beginning of Kali Yuga, that were the only legs that are standing on. They're only standing on one leg, I'm sorry, because all the other legs were beaten from the cow. And so um, the four legs of virtue are cleanliness, austerity, mercy, and um, cleanliness, mercy, austerity, and truthfulness. And so there's only one leg left uh, in the age of Kali, and that's truthfulness. Of course, we don't have any truth anymore either, so everything's going downhill really fast. I think the last term of the presidency, our president um, lied about 36,000 times. So Brahma said, or Bhumi, the goddess of the earth is Bhumi. That's the
Yeah.
cow. The cow is, her name is Bhumi. And she says, I can bear the weight of many, many heavy things like mountains and oceans. See, that's the potency of Krishna because he can make all these planets that are very, very heavy float in space like a feather. But she says, I can bear the weight of many heavy things like mountains, but I can't bear the weight of one liar. So this is the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. This is the beginning of the ages when they're beating on this cow and bull. And so you know it was interesting though because there was kind of a subtle um, revelation. Mars Prikshit asked the bull, who is Dharma personified in religion personified, who has done this? Who's to blame? And why is this happening? And the bull said, you really can't pin down any kind of blame. And it says in the Bhagavatam in that particular chapter that if you accuse somebody of doing something, if you accuse a mischief monger or a wrongdoer of something, you, the accuser, are just as much to blame as the wrongdoer. It's kind of a subtle
Hmm.
principle of religion that the mischief monger, if you accuse somebody of doing something, you don't know. The real understanding is that Krishna is in control of everything, and so you can't really blame anybody, any particular person on any kind of event because Krishna's in control. So the devotee has to see it that way and not lay blame or, play the blame game, oh, this is his fault or that fault, or, you just have to understand how the living entities are working within the jurisdiction of Krishna's will and understand that Krishna is in control of everything. Not a blade of grass moves without Krishna's sanction. So if somebody's doing something mischievous, but that doesn't mean that a king doesn't also try to render justice because that's his job, He has to arrest the wrongdoer, he has to punish them. But, that doesn't mean you go around blaming people for everything. Half the time, whatever happens to us, we accept it as, Krishna's mercy because we probably deserve much worse. But if we go on thinking in that way, we'll actually go back to Godhead because it'll be earned by us. If we go on executing our service and not complaining or trying to blame it on everybody else, then we'll inherit the spiritual world because it'll be our rightful due. So that's kind of a subtle aspect of religion, that there's no wrongdoer. You can't really blame the wrongdoer. It's really interesting the way that
Hmm.
works.
I kind of understand, like, kind of don't.
Yeah, I mean, in the Bible it says, "Judge that ye not will not be judged." It's the same kind of principle. If you're judging somebody, then you're yourself are judged. So the somebody that's blaming somebody for something, if he's judging that person on the basis of just his own opinion, then that person is also culpable for, to be judged. So if you understand what everything's coming from Krishna, and you actually understand it, how everything is coming from Krishna, um, then you'll be free from that kind of, you know, accepting and rejecting or blaming or not blaming or it's like in the Bhagavad Gita it also says that victory or defeat, honor or dishonor, pleasure or pain, these are all dualities of the material world and you can't be affected by these things. You have to just go on and do your duty irrespective of what comes around because that's just the way the material world is. These are like the winter and summer seasons are like seasonal, so you can't like complain about it. I mean, you just have to tolerate it without being disturbed. That was Krishna's instruction to Arjuna. So, so here you're in the next one, right? Did I finish reading that part? You
Uh,
go ahead and start reading. Lord Sri Krishna instructed Uddhava.
oh, yep. Lord Sri Krishna instructed Uddhava by following the injunctions of the social and spiritual orders of human society. One can satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and as a result of such satisfaction, the whole society gets all the necessities of life amply and without difficulty. This is because, after all, the Supreme Personality of Godhead maintains all other living entities. If the whole society performs its respective duties and remains in Krishna consciousness, there is no doubt that all of its members will live very peacefully and happily. Yeah, without wanting the necessities of life, the whole world will be turned into Vaikuntha, spiritual abode. Even without being transferred to the kingdom of God, by following the injunctions of Srimad Bhagavatam and prosecuting the duties of Krishna consciousness, all human society will be happy in all respects.
There's a similar statement by Lord Sri Krishna himself to Uddhava in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 27th chapter, verse 49. So the 11th canto of Bhagavatam is also called the Uddhava Gita. You know, there's the Bhagavad Gita, but Krishna explained it again to his dearest friend Uddhava.
Mm.
Uddhava is really an advanced personality because Krishna said, he's not different from me. I mean, he's like the same level as me. He was like a disciple of Brihaspati, who was the spiritual master of the demigods, and he would always ask Uddhava a good question when they were in the assembly hall in Hastinapur. And Uddhava always came up with a perfect solution to all the questions. You know, they wanted to do a Rajasuya sacrifice. Yudhishthira wanted to do a Rajasuya sacrifice for Krishna, but then they also had to conquer all the kings. But there was one king named Jarasandha who was very difficult to kill. And so they asked Uddhava what to do, and Uddhava told him, okay, just kill him first, and then you can do the Rajasuya sacrifice. And I know who can do it too, because Bhima is very strong. And so Krishna, when he was fighting with him, just ask him for a fight, they said, just because if a Kshatriya is challenged, he has to fight. He said, if somebody comes up to you and you're a Kshatriya and they ask you, okay, you have to fight me, then you have to fight. So, beg some charity. If your Kshatriya is approached and a Brahmana comes up and begs charity, then you have to give him some charity. And so Jarasandha was a king. He was very powerful. And so three of them, Krishna and Uddhava and Arjuna, went to see Jarasandha. And they were dressed as Brahmanas just to trick him, because they knew that if they asked for charity, then he'd have to give him. So they wanted to fight. So they asked him for a fight. And so, which one of us do you want to fight? And, he said, well, Krishna, we're not going to fight you because you're a coward. You ran away from the battlefield. And Arjuna, he's saying some reason he didn't want to fight Arjuna. But Bhima is kind of my actual equal. So he said, I'll fight with Bhima. And so when he was fighting with him, um, Krishna gave him a hint of how to kill him because he was actually separated from birth. He was ripped in half right after he was born. And then I can't remember exactly why, but anyway, a witch found him in the bushes after he was ripped in half, and the witch joined his body together. And so he had that vulnerability that he was actually joined at birth. And so Krishna took a twig and bifurcated the twig in front of Bhima. And so Bhima got the hint from Krishna how to kill him. And so he stepped on his leg and he took his arm and he ripped his leg and tore him in half. He had like half of a chest, half of a nose, half of one eye, half a genital, and he just ripped him in half and he killed him. So Krishna gave him the hint of how to do it, and then because he killed him, then Yudhishthira was able to do the Rajasuya sacrifice. The prerequisite for that sacrifice is that all the other kings on the earth have to be conquered, and Jarasandha was very difficult to conquer. So that's Krishna did it though. He just
So,
told him how to do it.
Wow. So they came as Brahmanas and
They came
then
as Brahmanas just to trick him, and kind of Jarasandha, he knew that they weren't Brahmanas because he could see the marks from the bow on their shoulders.
ah
Kshatriyas carry the bow and arrow bow on their shoulders, and he could see the lines from the bow. So, but even though, he said, "I don't care, I'll give you whatever you want," because that's the duty of a Kshatriya is to give in charity to the Brahmanas. Even if you're pretending to be Brahmanas, I'll give it to you anyway. And so they asked for a fight, and so he fought him.
yeah.
Interesting pastimes.
Yeah. So was this the I guess the Srimad Bhagavatam is the conversation Krishna has with Uddhavara. Is that right?
That canto, the 11th canto, I have that book. Actually, this camera is actually uh, sitting on top of that book, so it's a little elevated. It's a big, thick book. It's about this thick, but it's the 11th canto is the Uddhava Gita, and it's kind of like the same thing as Bhagavad Gita, but more detail.
Ah,
Bhagavad Gita is the same science. It's the science of God. It's the science of yoga, bhakti yoga. Nobody can do yoga. Even Arjuna. You have all these yogis nowadays, but nobody can do yoga. It's ridiculous, because nobody can sit in a solitary place. Even Arjuna, who is so qualified, he was a personal friend of Krishna. He was one of the best warriors in the world, and he had so much intelligence, so much compassion, so many good qualities. But even he said, "I can't do this, Krishna," and so they just moved on to the next topic. So you think that anybody can do yoga nowadays? Just because, they think we're more advanced than Arjuna, who is a personal friend of Krishna. Arjuna said, "My mind is very flickering and I can't control my mind. I find it more difficult to control my mind than it is to control the wind. And if you're in a hurricane, you put your arms out and you try to control the hurricane, that's not going to work." So, Arjuna said like that to Krishna. And so Krishna said, he accepted that, and so they talked about something else. So that process of yoga is described in the Bhagavad Gita, but Arjuna couldn't even do it. So what to speak of anybody else? You can pretend like you're a yogi and just kind of be a show bottle yogi. But the only yoga that works nowadays is bhakti yoga, Krishna consciousness and chanting the holy name of Krishna. That's a sacrifice. They had the big sacrifice, the Rajasuya sacrifice, where King Yudhishthira wanted to show to the world that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. He's above everybody else. He's the greatest personality in the world, and he wanted to prove that with the Rajasuya sacrifice. That was his motive for having that sacrifice. And of course, as a side benefit, he conquers all the kings, and everybody has to, they had one ruler on the whole planet back then. I don't know how they did it, but I
wow.
know they didn't have cell phones or
Yeah.
ravens or anything like that, like in Game of Thrones or something. But oh my God, it's like one guy. I mean, the entire earth was called Bharat. That's what Modi, the president of India, he wants to name India Bharat again because he already named a couple of cities. When I was in India in 1988, it was called Bombay. Now he renamed it Mumbai, which is like the former name. And now he wants to name the entire subcontinent of India Bharat. Of course, the old Earth was actually Bharat Varsh, the land of Bharat, because King Bharat was the king of the entire planet back then. Anyway, it is time to quit because it's 7:45. Do you have any questions about anything?
Um yeah, so I guess um yes, so you said regarding yoga, yeah, bhakti yoga, yeah, that makes sense because like Dharma yoga, I haven't like read it too much. Actually, even though I have the book, um, it would be easier for me to like uh listen to audiobooks.
Yeah, well, the Bhagavad Gita is about yoga, and Krishna explains everything in the Bhagavad Gita, Dhyana Yoga, Sankhya Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga. Actually, in the Uddhava Gita, there's an entire chapter on Jnana Yoga,
Hmm.
describing to Uddhava. One of my favorite verses is in there. But the thing is, after he got done explaining all these different types of processes and religious methods of self-realization, he just told Arjuna, he said, forget about everything I just told you, just surrender to me. So it's like Krishna, all of the religion means, it means satisfying the senses of the Lord. That's one definition of bhakti yoga. But another definition is surrender. You just surrender to Krishna. That's the conclusion of the Bhagavad Gita. That's the topmost yoga system, is surrendering to Krishna in the form of his name. Actually, in the name of Krishna is the only way to actually understand who Krishna is. Because all these meditational techniques and all the yoga practices and all the sacrifices and all the deity worship, it doesn't work anymore in this age. Just listen to the holy name. The name and Krishna himself are not different. So when you listen to the name, then you become Krishna conscious because he's not different from his name. That's the only way. It says in the Brihadaranyaka Purana, Harinam, Harinam, Harinam eva kevalam kalo nastyeva 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 gatiranta. They repeat it 3 times. Chant the holy name, chant the holy name, chant the holy name. There's no other way. There's no other way. There's no other way for spiritual realization in this age. So when something's really important, you repeat it 3 times. So that's what the Brihadaranyaka Purana has said. And so that's the Yuga Dharma of this age. The only way to understand who Krishna is, to become self-realized, is by chanting the holy name of Krishna or any name. And, Krishna is pretty intelligent. He knows other languages too. Yahweh, Buddha, Jehovah, Allah, whatever name you choose, just chant that name and you'll become God conscious because he invests all his energies in those names, and um, your heart will be purified. And when your heart is purified and you have Krishna is pleased when he'll sit in your heart when your heart is pure enough, and he'll just reside there. And that then you know your path back to Godhead is clear at that point. So thank you very much for coming on, is 2 guys Nectar Devotion class. You know, like they got the 5 guys hamburger joint. This is 2 guys, 2 guys Nectar Devotion class. I don't know if any of these girls will come back, but I hope they do. I mean, Ziva's pretty serious, but she's like always busy with something.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk to you next time. I guess the next time. Oh, Sankirtan and I usually do something on Friday, but that's more like a podcast. We're just going to have a discussion and then there'll be time like afterwards, 15 minutes, from 6 o'clock to 6:45. We're just going to have a discussion. And he's a very advanced personality himself. I mean, he's like pretty old. He's older devotee of Prabhupada, and he has written a couple of books. And so he's got deep thinker and a very effective preacher. I don't know if were you there when he gave a class at the Kirtan Center? Yeah, you
Yeah.
know.
That was yep, Ryan, I remember.
Janmashtami.
Krishna Janmashtami, yep.
Yeah, yeah, he's a very advanced soul.
A
So yeah, if
very
you want to
great
join
story.
that, I'm going to have another reminder of that on Friday morning. And so if you want to join that, you can jump on. And then, like I said, there'll be time for questions and answers. It's just a discussion. It's not a reading or anything. We just discuss
Or Friday
whatever
evening.
topic he wants to because, he's more advanced than I. He knows more something. He knows more what's more important than I don't know anything, and so I just like defer to him and he can pick the topic. But and then we have like a short discussion and everybody's free to ask questions, whoever is joining us. So thank you very much, Hemang.
Yep. Thank you, Prabhuji. Actually, I did have Um, one question. Uh, I was wondering where I could find the what is it? The prayer for before eating.
Oh,
Bless
that's booked
the
in the
food.
notes top prayer. You know, I said that once. I went home. I was a new devotee, and I went home to my parents' house. They lived in the Midwest, and I actually said the English out loud before we ate. You know, just as my own ritual. You know, and I said, I started out the prayer. It goes, "This body is a lump of ignorance, and the senses are a network of paths leading to death." And my mother said, "Okay, that's enough, Scott."
Yeah, I remember that. Um,
That's the actual translation, though. Sarira Didijal Jitendriya Take out Divi Filai Visaya Sagare, Dharmaji Devotee, Jolaba Moisadormati, Tagajitak Kina Samse, Krishna Boy Doyamoy, Kari Boy Jiva Joy, Swapasharan Dilobai, Sandamur Tupal, Radha Krishna Gunagaus, Premidikor Chaitanya Nitai. And that's the whole prayer. But I'll send it to you. So with the trans.
yeah, that's what that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank
Okay,
you.
we'll talk to you later. Have a wonderful evening.
Yep. Hare Krishna, Hari Bol.